Abdulla Shahid, born on the 26th of May 1962 in the Maldives, has a myriad of experience in foreign relations. Since joining the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in the year 1990, he served as a member of the advisory board of former President Maumoon Abdul Gayoom until 1994. On the 28th of May 2009, Shahid was elected as the Speaker of the Maldivian Parliament, a role he served until 2014. In November 2018, he was appointed the Foreign Minister of the Maldives and continues to serve in that position. On the 7th of June 2021, Abdulla Shahid was elected as the 76th President of the United Nations General Assembly with an overwhelming 3/4 majority, marking yet another milestone in his illustrious career. Hello there and welcome to this News First exclusive. I am Jayamal Rathnayake for the News First team. Today we have a very special and eminent guest joining us for a very fruitful conversation. He is hot off the heels of a victory at the United Nations General Assembly, being elected as the 76th President of the United Nations General Assembly. He is also the Foreign Minister of the Maldives, a country that Sri Lanka is very close to. He is none other than Mr. Abdulla Shahid. Thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Shahid, this evening to speak on what plans you have in your tenure as the President.
Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure.
So, Mr. Shahid, let me apprise our viewers on the outset of our conversation on what the United Nations General Assembly does. The UNGA is one of the 6 principal organs of the United Nations, serving as the main deliberative, policy-making and representative organ of the United Nations. Now, all 193 members of the United Nations are members of the General Assembly. So without further ado, Mr. Shahid, let me ask you my first question. We know that we are facing unprecedented times. These are testing waters for every one of us in the globe as a whole, and we are in the midst of a global health crisis. In the face of COVID-19, despite significant strides made in terms of treatment, vaccine development and vaccine deployment, we know there is large room for improvement. How do you, as the 76th President of the United Nations General Assembly, intend to address these issues and ensure that equal access to vaccines are given, especially to nations with lower financial capabilities?
Well, COVID-19 has been, as you rightly said, a pandemic that has devastated all our countries. It has devastated our economies, it has devastated our health system, it has also impacted our social life, societal life immensely. It needs to be addressed in a multifaceted manner. But the first and foremost, we need the vaccine equity issue to be solved. Of course, on the vaccine side, there have been very good initiatives taken by the current President Boskia, and also the Secretary General. There is the COVAX facility, but it has not functioned as expected. It has not met the expectation of the public. The vaccine inequity is so high that the numbers are staggering. 1 in 5 people in the developed countries have been vaccinated, but when it comes to the rest of the world, it's a figure that is shameful. Only 1 in 500 people have been vaccinated. So we need to address this issue. And during my meetings with the 193 countries before the elections, This is an issue that the countries are giving their utmost importance. And I am going to be working closely with all the countries, try to expedite the good initiatives that have been already taken, and also find out in how other ways I would be able to work with the membership to ensure that there is vaccine equity.
Mr. Shahid, you have spoken widely about climate change, sustainable development, protecting Mother Nature as a whole, and these are topics that have come up from time to time in the global sphere as well as regionally and as nations individually. And with each passing year, we seem to be witnessing events that are more catastrophic than the last. Even now, in our region, concerning Sri Lanka and Maldives, there is a major event taking place concerning the marine pollution where a vessel, a huge container ship by the name of the Express Pearl being in distress, and now it's submerged. There was a massive saga surrounding this. And do you intend to draw greater attention to these matters, and how do you expect to address these burning issues, Mr. Shahid?
Well, my presentation to the General Assembly as a candidate was to bring in reign in a presidency of hope, and I proposed that the presidency of hope will be built upon 5 rays of hope, and the third ray of hope that I have proposed is responding to the needs of the planet. And we can see, you and I can see, we can hear, everyone can feel our Mother Earth in pain, crying, in distress. We need to start attending to it. We have major conferences coming up. We have COP26 coming up end of this year. We have the Oceans Conference coming up early next year. And there are so many other major conferences lined up which will be taking place during the 76th session of the General Assembly. I propose that the General Assembly harness the momentum that these international conferences are going to create and turn it into action. And that is going to be what I will be looking at.
Mr. Shahid, we know that the Maldives and Sri Lanka have been enjoying cordial relations for a very long time, and the former president of the Maldives as well as the current speaker, Mr. Mohammad Nasheed, narrowly escaped death following a very disastrous assassination attempt that took place on the 6th of May 2021. Let me just draw your attention to that, because Maldives is in fact a dear friend, and as well as Mr. Nasheed, who is a very close friend of our nation. Have the authorities managed to identify the orchestrators of the attack, and how do you expect to curtail growing incidents of extremism and terrorism and indoctrination? How do you intend to address this on a global scale as the president of the UNGA?
The attack on President Nasheed's life shocked the entire Maldives and the rest of the world. I have received so many messages of sympathy and concern on this attack. We all are continuing to pray for his recovery, and I'm happy that President Nasheed is recovering well, and we can't wait for him to return back to the Maldives. And I trust that he will come back and continue to be a force to take the country forward in its quest for democracy, good governance, and promotion of human rights, which he has been a champion of. The authorities are working closely with international partners such as Australia, United Kingdom, and United States in its investigations, and the investigations are ongoing. And I'm sure that as soon as investigative authorities are ready, they will be coming out with details of what the investigations reveal.
Mr. Shahid, before we wrap things up in this exclusive interview, let me ask you one thing. You have been involved in foreign relations for a prolonged period of time. You are currently serving as the Foreign Minister of the Maldives, and now you have been elevated to this position of great power. Can you tell me and edify our viewers of how you will include multilateralism in your tenure and garner the assistance of all member states to achieve the objectives the UN and the UNGA as a whole attempts and strives to achieve in the future?
As a Maldivian and as the Maldivian Foreign Minister, we feel the importance of multilateralism. We know that there is no choice but multilateralism for international cooperation and international survival for that matter. In 1965, when we became independent, the first decision, foreign policy decision, the new independent government took in the Maldives was to join the United Nations. The decision was based on the fact that for small states or large states, multilateralism is the guarantor of sovereignty, territorial integrity, prosperity, and development. And we have been a responsible member of the United Nations for the past 55 years. So I bring into the United Nations presidency a total commitment and belief, true belief in multilateralism, and that is going to stay with it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shahid, for taking time out of your very busy schedule and joining us for a brief discussion on all things that matter to everyone in this globe. We wish you all the very best in your endeavor as the President of the United Nations General Assembly, and we hope and all of us here at News First and Sri Lanka send you our wishes, and as you strive to achieve all the objectives that you have set out to achieve in the coming year or so. Thank you very much for joining us and joining me in this exclusive interview, and I wish you all the best. However, I would like to end our exclusive interview on a quote that was made by Kofi Annan, a former Secretary General of the United Nations. He says, "More than ever before in human history, we share a common destiny. We can master it only if we face it together, and that, my friends, is why we have the United Nations." Thank you very much, Mr. Shahid, for taking time out for your day to join us, and we wish you all the very best.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.